All right. What's up, guys? Week 2 of the Laces Up podcast is here, and this is actually take 2 because my ass didn't have my guest audio going through. So we're finally here. Week 2. We do not have J Bunk or Waterboy with us as of now. They might pop in later on during the podcast, but as of now, we have the Hexorcist. Had to bring him in. How's it going, man?
It's going, man. Going good, man. Happy to be here. Appreciate the invite and looking forward to the show, bud.
Of course, man. We had a crazy week 1, not even just, in football, but in at least our fantasy league, we had some close games. I know I lost by a stat correction Wednesday morning. I felt good. I was 1-0 in our league, and, it was probably about to go straight to Discord, talk some trash. I was about to say, undefeated here. And then I look around and see the 0-1 next to my name. So, it's just like a kick in the nuts, basically. Stat corrections either, make your day or tear you down. And I'm already seeing week 1 not go my way. But how about you over there in the week 1 fantasy for you?
It went a little better than it did for you. I can say that. Started off with a victory, man. It was real tight, close one. That Sunday night game, I had nobody left. My opponent, he had Stafford and Allen Robinson going, so I was a little nervous. Had about a 31-point lead going in, I believe.
Yeah.
Came down to the wire, man. Finished Sunday night. A-Rob caught the last ball in a 5-yard reception. He needed 7 yards to put him ahead. So it was tight, man. I was up by, I believe, 0.2. Woke up Wednesday morning, and I was also stat corrected, but it benefited me. Added another point to my team. So walked away with a victory, man. All you can ask for.
Yeah, man. And that's why I hate it, because it's like Monday night I had a nail biter as well. I had Lamar on my team. My opponent had the Baltimore defense. So I was going back and forth through a roller coaster when picks were happening in the end zones and just obviously a nail biter for me Monday night. I know Sunday night I was watching and just it was entertaining watching you and the Hail Marys going back and forth. But then Monday night I had my scare going up and down, and then at the very end of the game I'm like, thank God I won. And then stat correction, for some reason I thought it was going to happen Tuesday morning. So around Tuesday I was like, okay, I'm good. But nope, it happens Wednesday morning, for those who don't know, on ESPN, and I got hit with it, which was crazy. But even shout out to I'm trying to think, Bobby, who just lost another close one. Well, we just had so many close ones, and that's just in our one league. So I'm sure everybody had some close ones. Let us know in the comments. I definitely want to hear some from you guys. But any kind of crazy week 1 action games that kind of caught your attention, like any players who stood out, or also any teams that kind of just shocked you?
Man, really, I'm going to go back to that Monday night game. I mean, the Ravens they look terrible. I know they've had some running back injuries, but Tyson, man, he came in and he looked really good early. And then they just started going to Latavius, and they fell apart. Guys getting you 2 yards of carry, you're not going to do too well. That Raiders defense, I will say, man, they impressed me. Lamar got loose a couple times, but nothing too major. Danny Dimes was running all over the field last night.
Sure.
So they did a better job containing Lamar than the Skins did last night. Excuse me, the football team.
Yeah, which is wild, yeah.
So I was surprised by that, man. And then, really, other than that San Francisco-Detroit game, it was wild, man. San Fran just blowing them out. Next thing you know, it's a close game coming down to the wire.
What for me, it was the Texans. Going back to last week, I even said on the podcast I could see them going like without a win, and then they come out of the gate just firing and completely shocked, I feel like, the whole NFL, and they put up some work. But you also got to know who it was against. You know, it was against the
Yeah.
Jags, so you know, I feel like a lot of people were expecting Lawrence just to do what he left off in college, which, you know, this is a whole nother game. This is welcome to the NFL kind of start. Zach Wilson, going back to him, he kind of got that same way against my Panthers, which I'm happy they played well. I'm glad we got a new kicker already because, you know, we punted the ball on the 33-yard line. You know, once that happens, and I didn't even get to watch the game. I was on my way home from a bachelor party, so I was on the car watching Gamecast, and I saw us in field goal range, fourth down. I was like, all right, cool, let's go kick this field goal and get some points. And I see that they punted, and I was just, wow,
Yeah.
they don't trust him. And then later on, found out why they didn't trust him. He even missed the extra point right after that. So, yeah, he had to go. So I'm pretty sure we picked up Zane Gonzalez. But other than that, another team that shocked me going the other way didn't surprise me. I think, or they did surprise me the way they played, and that's Green Bay. Green Bay came out and just looked god awful. I've never seen Aaron Rodgers look this bad in his whole career, and then got straight up outperformed by Jameis Winston. So, any thoughts
Yeah,
on that
I
game?
agree. Well, not many, man. There wasn't much to watch, to be honest. It was a blowout from start to finish. Um, One thing I'll say is just Rodgers, man, he just didn't look interested to me. Um, you know, he played like a guy that hadn't been training in the offseason. I think it just
Doing
kind of speaks
Jeopardy?
volumes. Yeah,
Looks like
just
a guy on
hosting
the off
Jeopardy.
season doing Jeopardies.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man. Other than that, they've got to figure it out. That was terrible. I'll say they looked to me like I was expecting Houston to look.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's go into week 2 since we're here. And like you said, as of last night, you know, we got to watch the football team and the Giants go at it, which was another nail biter. Which, you know, I think the Giants had the game won multiple times. They had the opportunities to win the game easily, and just like that Slayton drop, that was one of them. The missed field goal, which they had, you know, offsides, so it gave, you know, the Redskins or the football team's kicker another chance, and he drained the second one, which won in the game. So, any thoughts on last night's game?
Man, all I can say is it was the Giants being the Giants. Just time and time again, shooting themselves in the foot. Got a win in the bag, throw it out the door.
Yeah.
Just I don't know what else to say, man. Just kind of what I expect from the Giants at this point.
And you saw
They're a
Galladay.
disgrace for the NFL.
Galladay wasn't happy. I feel like the chemistry is just not there with that team, and if that's the case, and you know, we see this repeatedly, I think a lot of teams are just going to whoop up on them. But I will shout out to Heineke for playing. You know, he had a few nice dots in the end zone. So, and he was also targeting your boy McLaurin. McLaurin was scoring last night for sure.
Yes, he was. I was very happy with the output. I'll say I was caught off guard, man. Heineke looked like the real deal.
Yeah.
And, you know, people don't give the Giants defense much credit, but they have a solid defensive unit, man. And, I mean, he was just picking them apart. Had the late turnover that was pretty bad, but came back when it mattered, and he got his team the win, man. And I was very impressed with him.
Yeah, me too. I really did not think he was going to, you know, after, you know, Fitzpatrick got hurt, I was like, well, that could be it for the offense. And looks like, not really. Looks like Heineke is in his spot. You know, he's been ready for this. I feel like he's, you know, I think that was his third start ever.
Yep.
And he looked pretty good. Third time's a charm, looks like. Well, let's go into the week 2 games. We'll pick a couple of games to highlight. Any game that you're looking forward to in week 2?
Man, the slate is pretty weak this week, in my opinion. There's a lot of, you know, appear to be one-sided games. Now, we may have some storylines after this week. You know, somebody getting upset. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one this week, I'm leaning towards the Chicago Cincinnati game.
Hmm.
To me, you're going to find out a lot of answers, man. How long are the Bears willing to wait to give the job to Fields? I mean, he came in last week and he clearly looked like the better option.
Yeah.
As expected, nobody thought Andy Dalton was number one. If you did, then you're probably watching the wrong sport. Um, and other than that, I want to see, is Jamar Chase the real deal? Rough preseason, rough training camp. Came out week one, led the team in targets, 5 catches, 101 yards, and a score. Burned a corner on a 50-yard go route. Just he had a game, man. I want to see if he can do it consistently, or if those drops come back, if they start hunting him.
Looking back to the Bears' secondary against the Rams, they didn't show up. I mean, there was so many blown coverages in that game. So if they don't straighten it up after seeing that film, then they're going to be screwed because, like you said, Jamar Chase, he can get down the field real quick. And, we saw that Burrow-Chase connection last week. And I definitely, like I said, I think it comes down to that secondary of the Bears. They let, who was it, Van Jefferson just blow right by. Cooper Kupp was also another guy who had an opportunity just to have a wide-open touchdown. So
Stafford picked them apart, man, and Burrow can do the same.
Burrow could definitely do it. And so I think it comes down to that defense.
I agree with you.
I was shocked with Mixon, though. Mixon looked good. And I will say the Bears, though, they're pretty solid at stopping the run. But that pass, I think it comes to Burrow. I think the game comes down to Burrow and also the secondary for the Bears. Like, what's going to happen? And who's going to, like you said, when is that going to happen? When is Justin Fields going to take the job? I think that's everybody's question. Everyone's been kind of holding him on their bench and just waiting to be able to put him in. So, yeah, I do like that game.
Just strictly opinion, to me, I think after this week, I think if the Bears come out and they lay another dud, I could see Fields starting week 3. That's where I'm at. Dalton is not the answer, and I think they know it, and I think they've known it since the preseason. I think at this point it was they promised him the job when he signed the $10 million contract, and coach didn't want to go back on his word. But I don't know how you can sit there and say in front of the media that Andy Dalton is our best chance to win when we have Justin Fields sitting on the bench.
No, and I can see where the coach is saying, Dalton is the veteran, right? He should start, just because he's a veteran. No, well, talent-wise is also Fields is there. If you're gonna let the veteran, just put him in the back seat and coach him. Like I think Dalton's gonna be that type of teammate who's gonna do that, and not be one of those stuck-up quarterbacks who's like, well, since he's starting, I'm just gonna sit back, relax, and not lead him. I mean, I feel like Dalton and Fields, they're cool with each other. So I feel like if that does happen, Dalton's gonna be fine with it. He's gonna coach Justin Fields to victories, man. I really think that's just an extra QB coach.
I agree, man. Dalton's one of those types of players that when you look back in the history of the NFL that turn out to be good coaches, average players. It's not usually the superstars.
Right.
Because he's not as talented, so he's had to do the X's and O's and do the work to get to this point.
I'll name it for I know this is a different sport but basketball, Michael Jordan owns the Hornets, and a lot of his picks in the past have not been the best. So
right.
Recently though, they're growing. Go Hornets.
Right. But what game you looking forward to this week?
So my game that I highlighted, like you said, there's not really too many, but the one that kind of stood out for me is the Titans and the Seahawks. The Titans had, they kind of just got blown out by the Cardinals, and the Cardinals looked really good. I feel like the Seahawks are going to do something similar if the Titans can't figure it out on, defense, the passing game. Russell Wilson is going to do exactly what Kyler Murray did to them if they don't figure it out. So, Russell Wilson, he looked good last week, and I could see him doing, and he was connecting with Lockett. That's not even opening up with DK Metcalf. He hasn't even came into the picture really. So expect DK Metcalf and Lockett to get some work in. I really see I see Russ gonna cook again week 2 if the Titans can't figure it out. But on the other side, Titans. Henry needs to get involved on this like ASAP. I feel like everybody knows this. Watching Henry, one of the most, I would say, out of the draft, the most anticipated running backs. I would say him and possibly, Antonio Gibson. And kind of both of them have really not lived up to expectation as of right now. But possibly, depending if Derrick Henry can bounce back, it'll open up the pass game. Julio will get involved, A.J. Brown. But the Cardinals just shut them out on both sides. So, I think the Seahawks are going to take this one. What are your thoughts on that game?
I have to agree with you. Man. I think you're going to see much of what you saw last week from Seattle. I think Russ is going to just be Russ, man. He's going to be cooking. Yeah. And like you said, Metcalf last week, only 60 yards and a touchdown. I would say he may go 160 and 2 touchdowns. Lockett, I think he was 5 catches, 101 and 2 touchdowns. He may do the exact same thing, man. He just finds a way to get open, and Russ trusts him. Yeah. And nobody throws the deep ball like Russ. Maybe Mahomes, but to me, the best deep ball in the league is Russ. The Titans secondary is terrible. They're young, out of position constantly. I think he's just going to pick them apart. As far as Tennessee, like you said with Henry, they've got to control the clock and keep it out of Russ's hands as much as possible if they have a chance to win.
Yeah, and going back to last week, the game that I highlighted last week was the Browns and Chiefs. And, I even picked the Browns to win in one of my polls. Now, I was just trying to go in against the grain, but I really did think it was going to be a good game. And I was saying, keep that ball on the ground, and good things are going to happen. And that's what happened. Exactly what happened. They kept the ball on the ground. You see Chubb just going in, doing his thing. You had Kareem Hunt as well. They looked good. And, came down to just throwing at the end where just the defense is not going to be able to stop Mahomes, and that's what happened. And Baker, I will say Baker looked good. It came down to that last interception, which, they said he was trying to throw it away, and he got hit at the end. It was just one of those kind of turnovers, but I think that game could have gone either way, and still shouting back out to the Browns in my pick for the Super Bowl. But I just had to throw that back out there. But anyway, that's really it. The only 2 games we're going to highlight since we don't have the other hosts here. But going into the injury report, I'll go ahead and cover that. I had it pulled up here in a second. Let's see. For the injury report, we have just a few. Henderson should remain the featured role. Let's look at... Josh Jacobs is sitting against the Steelers, so... either way, I even think if you had Jacobs, it's going to be a tough matchup against the Steelers. So, getting their backup still is going to be kind of rough against that tough defense. And then Zach Ertz is now cleared for week 2. Zadarius Smith is slated to miss some time. Tyrell Williams is still not practicing. So, and also DeAndre, I don't know if I said DeAndre Swift also had a limited practice as well. And that's it for my quick injury report, because usually J-Bunk handles this part of the show. So anyway, straight through that. And this is the fun part. We're going to go straight into the boom and bust of the week. And before we get into both of our boom and bust, we'll go back to the past. And here's the record, what we're showing on the screen. Myself is 1-1. J-Bunk is 0-2. And Waterboys is 1-1 as well. And we did decent. We did all right. No one went undefeated. Maybe Hexorcist could be the first one undefeated in the boom or bust. So I guess let's get straight into it, man. Who is your boom?
This week, I'm going with Mr. Tyson Williams, Baltimore Ravens. He's projected at 9.7 fantasy points. I think that is horrendously low.
Yeah.
I know they've got a stable over there now, several backs. But if you watch that game Monday night, you know who's the most explosive. You know who can catch the passes. I mean, he looked great Monday night. Um, so I see him going, man, at least 15. Um, they're gonna need him, and they're gonna need to throw the ball and to keep up with Kansas City. So he's their best pass catching option out of the backfield, and I think he breaks a big one or two. The Chiefs are not known for their run defense.
That's very true. That's very true. They have a good pass rush defense or passing defense. With Chris Jones, and we saw it against Baker when they needed him. He was the guy to put pressure on the quarterback. But when it comes to running backs, you're right. I do see Tyson Williams definitely for his projections. I would say boom as well. My boom for week 2, I'm gonna go. I'm going for the Go Pack Go. We're gonna go Devontae Adams. I think this is a big bounce back game. I think they all know that they have to bounce back against the Lions. So this is the time to do it. So look forward for the connection of Rodgers and Adams a lot. We'll see. I just think that's just one of the top ones for me. But going into, since Waterboy and J-Bunk's not here, they still sent theirs in. So I'll go ahead and let you guys know what Waterboy's and J-Bunk's is. Waterboy is going with Rojo. He's projected 7.1, so I do like that with the boom, just because it is a low projection for him. But then again, it's one of those, the Buccaneers, they switch off between Fournette, Rojo, who the hell's running the ball, no one knows. So that's kind of scary. But Waterboy went with Rojo. J-Bunk is going with Elijah Mitchell. Now Elijah Mitchell just was deemed, as far as we know now, he is the guy going into the 49ers game as the number one. You still got Sermon behind him, so I guess we'll find out when the game starts what the split will be. But we'll find out, and the reason why I said Elijah Mitchell is because we have a bust for Elijah Mitchell as well, and also this boom and bust for J Bunk is the bet between you and J Bunk. You want to go ahead and say the bet just so our viewers will know?
Oh yeah. So J Bunk has decided, for some unknown reason, to bet me that Elijah Mitchell will outscore Ezekiel Elliott this week in half PPR, the scoring we use for our league. I just don't see it, man. The bet is going to be 10 wings from Chex Wings here.
There you go.
By far the best wings you've ever had. So shout out to Chex Wings. I look forward to getting my free plate. Zeke is going to roll, baby.
Shout out to Chex Wings. Hopefully one day they'll sponsor this podcast.
Sponsors, baby, sponsors. I'm a company man.
All right, well, we did our boom. Let's go straight into the bust of week 2. Who do you got, Hexorcist? Who are you hexing this week for your bust?
Well, unfortunately, because he is my current running back 2, but I got to do it. Miles Sanders. He's projected for 13.3 fantasy points against San Francisco. Now, those Lions running backs last week put a hurting on San Francisco. However, a look at the numbers will tell you that 80% of those points came from receptions. They did not do much on the ground. So I don't foresee Sanders being able to find a lot of running room. I think they're going to be down early. And they really like Gainwell for the receiving work. So I think Gainwell is going to outperform Miles this week. 13.3 is a stretch to me.
Okay. All right. For my bust, I'm going Mike Davis for the Atlanta Falcons running back. He's projected 11.2. This is kind of cherry picking, just kind of how Bunk was doing last week. Even though he went 0 for 2, I think this is another running back. You just don't want to face anyone who's going up against Tampa. I just think they're going to shut down just about every running back they face. So, in my opinion, I would just go for every running back against Tampa as a bust. But especially this week with Mike Davis, he didn't even show up last week. Especially the way that I think this game's going to go, the Buccaneers going to be up by a lot. You can't run the ball when you're down by so much. So Mike Davis is going to be kind of irrelevant. Sit him if you guys have him in your lineups, and if you have any other option, please use that other player. I just see Mike Davis busting hard. So that is my
100% agree with that.
It's hard not to agree with this one. I mean,
what did Zeke break, like 5 points on him? I mean, come on.
And that's Zeke. I mean, a top talent running back can't even get through the line of Tampa Bay. What do you think with Mike Davis? I mean, I love Mike Davis just because he was a Panther, but I'm sorry, man, you're going to have a tough week. And I think he knows it. I think he's kind of, getting ready. Have that ice ready is basically what he's telling his trainers, because he knows he's gonna hit a wall as soon as he gets to the line of scrimmage. So
yeah, gotta agree with you there, 100%. He's on my bench and he will stay there.
There you go. I forgot you had him, didn't you?
I do. I pulled off a blockbuster deal for Travis Kelce a couple days ago, and Davis was in it. Flex starters in the correct matchup, but this is not the correct matchup.
I kind of want to do it like a bet of the over/under on how long you'll keep Kelce.
Well, I'll be honest, man. I don't foresee myself trading Kelce. You saw I gave up a lot of good pieces, man, and I wanted that difference maker. There's truly only two elite tight ends right now, and it's Kelce and it's Waller. You got a weekly advantage at that position, and it's an advantage by a mile. I just think that that pays big dividends when you can lock that position in and just let it roll, baby, and know you're getting, elite wide receiver numbers or elite running back numbers.
Speaking of Waller, real quick, I mean, he got targeted. I don't know how many targets he got, but I felt like
21.
The whole game. It was 21?
21.
Oh, my goodness. Guys, if you have Waller, like, that's the thing. I was looking at him, and, I'm pretty sure he's got a hard matchup coming up, but I don't think it matters. With that volume of targets, like, you're going to be fine. So, like you said, Waller,
he's
Kelce,
matchup proof, man. Matchup proof, just like Kelce.
Yeah.
You roll him out there. I don't care who he's playing. If you sit Waller, you need to just quit fantasy football.
Yeah, pick another sport, like Hector said earlier on in the episode. Going into the bust still, we still got Waterboy and J-Bunk's bust. Waterboy picked Elijah Mitchell to bust when J-Bunk picked Elijah Mitchell to boom. So this should be interesting. One of them's got to, hit. So we'll see who that is. And then for J-Bunk, his bust is Zeke. Because of your bet, I'm assuming that's why he did it, and he put Zeke, who's projected 15. So he's hoping that Mr. Ezekiel Elliott is going to bust 2 times in a row.
Gonna cost him 10 wings and a good record in the boom bust, man. What is he thinking? What is he thinking?
You think he's gonna go 0-4 in the first 2 weeks?
It certainly looks like that with those kind of picks, man. Real quick, what's your thoughts on Mitchell this week? Where do you lie on the boom or bust?
I'm in the middle, so I do like Mitchell as a pickup. Obviously, if you're in a league right now and he's still available, I mean, you should be able to win that league in no time. Just pick him up real quick. He was definitely the number 1 waiver wire pickup, so I like him as a running back to just have. Definitely a flex running back. We got to see what he's got. But going into this game, I think he's going to hit his projection. I think he's just going to be right around there. I don't think he's going to boom or bust. I think he's going to be, like you said, Sermon. He's going to be splitting a little bit of time with him. They're going to see who's got the best. So, honestly, Sunday, we'll find out who has the majority role You know, I mean, we'll see. I think they're just going to feed the hot hand, and whoever's got the hot hand could take that job. So it's kind of a 50-50 air toss for me right now.
Okay, I'll go a different route with it. I'm not a Mitchell believer. He had a solid week one, and coming in for
Yeah, he did.
Mostert. Sermon was surprisingly inactive. Um, but Shanahan spent a third round pick on Sermon. Mitchell was a sixth round pick. Um, Sermon was the clear number two option all training camp and preseason,
Hmm.
and he played well. Um, I just feel like maybe there was some kind of disciplinary action there that we weren't aware of. And I could honestly see Sermon leading this backfield as soon as this week. He's definitely going to get every opportunity to do so, in my opinion, just because of the draft capital.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I mean, San Fran is that run heavy team, so we'll see. I think it's going to come down to hot hand, man. But
I agree. There's a potential there in San Francisco, man. They can support multiple running backs for flex purposes. Um, you've seen it before. I think
yeah,
it was McKinnon and Tevin Coleman, if
Tevin,
I'm
yeah.
not mistaken. Yeah, they were both putting up solid flex play numbers when they were healthy. Um, so I think we may see that again, and I may be off on Mitchell. He may have some standalone value, but I don't think we're looking at a guy that's going to be able to consistently, you know, do what he did this past week where he had 19 carries. I don't foresee him being able to handle that type of workload in this league.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on just week 2 in general? Anything that we missed up on?
I think we got it pretty well covered, man. I'm looking forward to continuing the season, man. I'm just glad football's back. To be honest, it's just rough around here when there's no football to watch.
I hear that. I hear
Um,
that. Yeah. Well, I want to say shout out. Thank you for the follow, Matt Yaz, by the way, on Twitch. We do this live stream every Friday, where we're starting to every Friday around this time, around 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern. So, if you guys want to catch it live, do so. And we will be throwing in the Q&As a little bit more once we get a little bit more of an audience. So be prepared to hit us with your questions. And if you want to hit us with your questions also on YouTube, go ahead. We'll answer some in the comments. But anyway, thank you for joining me, Hexorcist, and helping me hold down week 2. And good luck in your fantasy football, except for UCFL. It doesn't matter actually, because whoever you're playing our division, so it doesn't matter.
right. Next week, man. Next week.
Next week we do play each other. That's gonna be fun.
I appreciate you having me, man, and thanks for having me on. And hopefully, I can come back next week and run my mouth to you, so we can get that trash talk going for our matchup next week.
Well, for sure, because we do have your boom and bust, so we have that down as the record. So either you're gonna come back as a winner or a loser. We'll find out. Well, you could even be even, just like me and Dorton at the beginning. So we'll see.
Looking forward to it, man.
For sure. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next week.